this video, I will share what that has been like, both the good and the bad, so stay tuned. Before we get started, let me just say that this video is not intended to bash the Philippines or any other country. Each country has its own positives and negatives. This is simply our experience living here for the past 14 years and the past year as retirees. The first thing that we love about living here is the weather. It's sunny almost every day. It's warm. We can go to the beach whenever we want to. There's so much beauty around us. The ocean, the mountains, the lush green rice terraces. There are places that we can explore. There are beautiful sunsets. Just being outside feels good most of the time. Another thing that we really enjoy is the food. There's always something good to eat in the Philippines. Whether it's a $3 meal at a local restaurant or a $20 meal at a resort, it's always tasty, and there's lots of choices. There's Filipino food, Chinese food, Indian food, Thai food, American food, French food, Italian food, Greek food, pretty much any kind of food that you would want to eat, you can find it here. Also, if you know how to cook, it's easy to buy fresh ingredients at the local markets. The cost of living in the Philippines is very low. The average monthly salary of a Filipino is around $250. Of course, that's not very high, but the cost of living is also very low. You can get a decent apartment for $300 a month. You can get a 3-bedroom house with a yard for $800 a month. You can eat a good meal at a restaurant for $3. A massage costs $5. A haircut costs $3. Of course, these prices will vary depending on where you live and what you buy. But generally speaking, the cost of living in the Philippines is very low. Now, another good thing about the Philippines is that the people are very friendly. I've never lived in a country where the people were so warm and welcoming. Everyone here seems to be happy all the time. They're always smiling and they're always willing to help. If you need directions, someone will stop what they're doing to help you. If you need to buy something, someone will go out of their way to make sure that you get it. The people here are truly some of the best things about the Philippines. We also love the fact that it's easy to get around the Philippines. There are lots of different ways to do it. There are jeepneys, which are like mini buses that go all over the place. They're cheap, they're convenient, but they're a little bit crowded. Then there are tricycles, which are like motorcycle taxis. They're great for getting around town quickly. They're also very cheap. There are taxis, which are a little bit more expensive than tricycles, but they're still pretty cheap compared to other countries. And then there are buses, which are like the taxis of land. They're cheap and they go all over the place. There are also private cars, which are the most expensive way to get around, but they're still pretty cheap compared to other countries. The point is, no matter how much money you have, you can get around the Philippines easily. Another thing that we love about the Philippines is that it's easy to meet people. There are many groups and meet-up groups for foreigners. There are also many bars and restaurants where you can meet people. Also, the people here are very friendly and they're always willing to help. So if you ever move to the Philippines, don't worry about meeting people, you'll meet people. The next good thing about living in the Philippines is that it's easy to get to other countries. Many people don't realize that the Philippines is in a great location. It's close to everything. It's only a short flight to get to Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, China, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, Egypt, Turkey, Greece, Italy, France, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, United Kingdom, Ireland, Portugal, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and yes, even the United States. From the Philippines, you can fly anywhere. There are direct flights from Manila to Dubai, Doha, London, Paris, Rome, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, and yes, even New York. There are also many budget airlines that fly to many different destinations. So, if you ever get bored of the Philippines, it's easy to travel to other countries. The next good thing about living in the Philippines is that it's safe. Of course, there are some areas where you should avoid going alone at night, especially in Manila. But overall, the Philippines is a very safe country. I've never been mugged, robbed, or assaulted here. And I've never seen anyone else being mugged, robbed, or assaulted here. Yes, there are pickpockets and scammers, but they're not going to hurt you. They just want your money. The last thing that we love about living in the Philippines is the healthcare. It's actually quite good here. There are many hospitals and clinics all over the place. The doctors and nurses are well trained. The facilities are modern. The equipment is up to date. The pharmacies have all the medicines that you need, and the prices are reasonable. We found that the quality of care here is just as good as the care in the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and many other Western countries. So if you ever have any health problems while living in the Philippines, don't worry, you'll be in good hands. So those are the good things about living in the Philippines. Now let's talk about the bad. The first bad thing about living in the Philippines is the traffic. It can be quite chaotic here, especially in Manila. The roads are always congested. There are always accidents. The drivers are crazy. The horns are honking all the time. It can be very stressful to drive in the Philippines. If you're planning to drive here, make sure you have a thick skin and a good sense of humor. Another bad thing about the Philippines is the garbage. It's a big problem here. You can see garbage everywhere. In the streets, in the rivers, in the mountains, even in the ocean. It's disgusting. The government is trying to do something about it, but it's not enough. If you're an expat living in the Philippines, please do your part to keep the country clean. Don't litter. Recycle, reuse, reduce, and compost. The third bad thing about the Philippines is the poverty. It's a sad thing to say, but it's true. There are many people who are living in extreme poverty here. You can see them begging on the streets, sleeping on the sidewalks, scavenging for food in the garbage. It's heartbreaking. The government is trying to do something about it, but it's not enough. If you're an expat living in the Philippines, please do your part to help the poor. Donate to charities, volunteer your time, buy local products, support local businesses. The fourth bad thing about the Philippines is the bureaucracy. It can be very frustrating here. Everything should be done by the book. There's no room for creativity or innovation. If you're not a Filipino, you're not gonna understand it. If you're an expat living in the Philippines, please be patient with the bureaucracy. Understand that it's not personal. It's just the way things are done here. The fifth bad thing about the Philippines is the natural disasters. It's a fact of life here. There are typhoons, floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, you name it. The Philippines is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world. It's important to be prepared, have a plan in place. Know what to do when a disaster strikes. The sixth bad thing about the Philippines is the crime. Now, I already talked about petty crimes like pickpocketing and scamming, but there is also violent crime here. There are murders, robberies, rapes, and even kidnappings. Most of this crime happens in Manila and other major cities. But it can happen anywhere. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Don't flash your money or your expensive jewelry. And if you're an expat, you're a target. Don't say that you don't have any money, even if you do. Just say that you have a little bit of money and you need to go to the bank to get more. Most scams, robberies, and assaults happen when a victim says that he or she has a lot of money. But if you play it smart, you should be fine. The seventh bad thing about the Philippines is the internet. It's not reliable here. It's slow, it's expensive, and it's always going down. Now, if you're living in a major city like Manila or Cebu, you should be fine. But if you're living in a rural area, forget about having good internet. Now, I know that a lot of digital nomads are moving to the Philippines because it is cheap and the weather is good. But don't expect to have a reliable internet connection. The 8th bad thing about the Philippines is the mosquitoes. They're everywhere, they're huge, and they're vicious. They bite hard, and they seem to like expats more than locals. You may want to consider living in an apartment if you're not used to dealing with mosquitoes. Or better yet, stay in a hotel for the first few months so you can get used to it. The 9th bad thing about the Philippines is the cockroaches. Like mosquitoes, they're everywhere. They're huge and they're fast. They also seem to be more attracted to expats than locals. And the 10th bad thing about the Philippines is the stray dogs and cats. There are thousands of them roaming around the streets, especially in Manila. They're everywhere. They're dirty and they can be dangerous. If you're not careful, they might bite you. So those are some of the bad things about living in the Philippines. As you can see, there are both good and bad things about every country in the world. It's up to you to decide whether the good outweighs the bad. For us, it does. We love living in the Philippines. We feel very fortunate to be able to retire here. If you're thinking about retiring in the Philippines, we highly recommend it. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people. The cost of living is low, the weather is great, and there are many activities to keep you busy. Just be prepared for some of the things that we talked about in this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Short Story TV PH. Hit the notification bell so you never miss another tale. Until next time, keep your imagination alive and your stories close.